A very wise man once said, in the future, everybody will be famous for 5 minutes. Now, I'll give you extra brownie points for guessing who said that. So if you're listening to me, do write in the chat box who you think said that quote, and I'll get back to you with it. But the point is, who would have thought all those years back what was said will come true and will happen so soon, indeed, courtesy the booming social media landscape these days. And social media hasn't spared anybody from kids to students to celebrities to entrepreneurs. Why I say that is because if you cannot be found on the internet in today's world, you simply don't exist. It's as simple as that. And this is perhaps the thing that we must master. Now, since this edition of TiECon Chandigarh is all about adapting, overcoming, and improvising, the panel that we have now sits perfectly with the theme. So I must now invite on the dais, on the virtual dais, Ms. Archana Vohra, who's the Director of Small and Medium Businesses, Facebook India, with over 21 years of experience in building, monetizing, and leading digital platforms and companies. In conversation with our esteemed moderator, Mr. Jyoti Kamal, who's the Executive Editor of TV18 Broadcast Limited. Over to you, sir and ma'am, to talk to the audience about adoption and use of social media by small and medium businesses. And before that, that quote was said by Albert Einstein. So in case you got that right, give yourself a pat on the back. Over to you, sir and ma'am.
Thank you so much, Harika. In fact, you said that there has been this whole acceleration. Who would have thought that digital technologies would be the way they are already? But I mean, it has in fact got further accelerated with what has happened over the last kind of year almost. It's just about a year where it has particularly kind of gotten accelerated in terms of how things have moved. So in fact, absolutely delighted to have Archana with us here today. I mean, if you had to look at it, Archana, Facebook has really been an amazing tool. It's been a whole set of apps that have really accelerated the small and medium business enterprise. But if I had to ask you, how big is the ecosystem? What is the kind of size that you're looking at in terms of small and medium businesses in India?
So let me start from a couple of things, right? So if you look at, and I'll first talk to digital acceleration and then I'll talk to the universe. So clearly this has been in the year of digital acceleration. So if I were to give you some statistics around it, if you look at broadly what we look, how Facebook gets consumed in India, nearly 400 million people access our app every month. So that's one part of the data. The second part of the data is we saw nearly 15 million businesses accessing our WhatsApp business app every month. So these are two distinct data points. And now let me extrapolate it to what we believe is the internet audience in India. The internet audience in India is between 400 to 500 million. So that's really the bridge of how close people are getting to the internet and how much of business is really moving to the internet. Now, if I were to look at that slice very differently and say, how has digital transformation happened, then I'm going to refer to the BCG Turn the Tide report that we had published, which said that purchase intent has gone up by nearly 25 to 30%. So here you have a large audience. We know purchase intent has gone up. And then the third piece of data that I'd like to bring your attention to is with World Bank and OECD, we do a state of the business SMB survey that tells us that 51% of the businesses on the platform get a quarter of their sales from the platform. And this is pure sales. This isn't numbers that talk about either community or any of the other pieces that the platform also stands for. So that's a real bridge of what's really happening in the world today, and India is not left out. What is the beauty of it is entrepreneurship is real. SMBs are agile. They account for 30% of India's GDP. I don't need to stand for them. They stand for themselves. And so if there's ever been a time when digital transformation and the growth of SMBs have beautifully gotten married, maybe in the worst situation, but it is truly now.
No, and Archana, when you look at it, like of course, we have seen that this whole COVID thing, it has suddenly accelerated this whole digital transformation, something that would have probably happened over the next 5 to 6 years happened in the span of a year, because that was the need of the hour, that was the need of the kind of moment in terms of how people needed to do it. Did you kind of notice a certain kind of scampering, a little bit of confusion in the initial stages? I mean, did you kind of detect any trends as it started building up initially, like there would have been a very smooth progression happening over the last few years, over the last several months, and then suddenly you see that there is some kind of spiking in activity happening, and then a sudden wave that starts during the COVID phase. Did you detect any of those trends? Was this transition smooth as SMBs started to move? Did they really have to struggle to kind of suddenly come on board as they realized, well, this seems to be something in for the long term? How did it happen? What did you see then?
I think a couple of things. I think the real challenge for SMBs really came when lockdown happened, right? The Kirana stores weren't selling, customers weren't coming to stores, so they were
Archana, we seem to have lost you. Are you there? Niharika, are you there?
I'm right here. I think we seem to have lost her. There might be a technical glitch. She seems to have dropped out. We should have her soon, hopefully.
Let's just wait a couple of seconds while
Sure.
she most likely it's going to be reconnected. Yeah.
Right. While the internet has connected us all, it does have its downsides every once in a while, which we can't deal with or we can't undo.
Absolutely. Ask me. I mean, in the TV business, the kind of redundancies that you have to build in. You're back online?
She's back.
Still waiting to hear from you. Is your mic unmuted? Archana?
Yes, she seems to be unmuted.
Okay.
hear any of you.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
So I said this is the world of the internet. आता है जाता है. Businesses के साथ भी बिल्कुल ये हुआ.
I'm so relieved. I was worried that my internet is going to conk off, and when it conks off for somebody like you in Facebook, then that kind of relieves me a bit. That it can happen to anyone.
I'm on my home connection though, so don't blame Facebook for this one.
You're on a Wi-Fi.
Yeah. But,
Yeah. So,
go ahead.
Did you kind of detect that whole kind of confusion in the initial phases, like you were saying, immediately after it was realized that there is a lockdown in place? That's when you started seeing a spike in activity. What were the trends that you saw?
Absolutely. So a couple of things happened, right? One is that when the footfalls dried out, businesses started aggressively looking at other opportunities to make sure that they could continue to run businesses. And this included everybody from a homepreneur to anybody who even ran a Kirana store, for example. And so the first trend that we really saw was just this acceleration for people to start using digital differently. So for example, if I look at just the live broadcast from the Facebook pages went up nearly 3x. And that's because what was happening? I am Vastram, and I'm using a client example. I'm a homepreneur. My name is Sunita. That's the founder. And she, actually went online with her saris, sari by sari, talking about, hey, this is a Kanjivaram sari. It's available for X thousand rupees. It's blue in color, flashing it. And that's exactly what SMB started doing. They started looking for new customers, new markets, and platforms became their default choice. First thing that happened. Did we see adoption? Yes, we did. Second challenge that we saw was business skilling was key. And so for everything that we did, we completely went virtual. So for example, our Facebook Boost program that we run for young businesses went completely virtual. Our VC Brand Incubator program, where we work very closely with invested businesses, went completely virtual. We started something called Campaign Lab, which was just this way to say, bring in your creatives, come to us, and in 2 days, we will ship out campaigns for you. And also we launched our Business Resource Hub, right, which was COVID advice that was happening by vertical. If you're an e-commerce player, तो कैटलॉग ऐसे बनेगी, एक प्रोडक्ट की प्राइस कैसे सेट होगी, and then how do you really test and learn and scale your business. So I think that was the second wave where business acceleration got married to the need to learn business skilling. So I think that was the second. The third was a very interesting trend, which was something that I'm personally very proud of. We saw an influx of women entrepreneurs. So for example, if I look at Instagram since November 20, there was a 20% increase in profiles or business profiles that they said were managed by women, females, and they flagged themselves as female owners. So, quickly this moving from just entrepreneurs to women entrepreneurs and getting very, very inclusive. And then the last bit, which was interesting to see, is a lot of tier 2, tier 3 towns joined the bandwagon. So I'll give you a story. Very small businesses coming out from, say, Ahmedabad, right? My Bagicha. My Bagicha and Instagram tied up, and they saw 3x sales as part of the increase in sales in My Bagicha. Or, businesses, say, like Study at Home, which is a business that typically looks at furnishings, sprawling store in Vadodara, went completely online, did 1.4x sales. So I think that was the next bit. Learn and then realize that those dreams can truly come to reality when you take them online. Or businesses like Okhai, right? And I was just speaking to Kirti Punya, who's the founder, and she said, you know what? During COVID, I asked all my viewers कि खाने के लिए पैसे हो जाएंगे कि हमें भी fund raise करना पड़ेगा. And they turned around and नहीं, orders are in. That is such a beautiful bridge from livelihood and necessity, right? And just people making that journey. So that's the next bit we saw. And the last bit, I think, was with all of this came capital crunch, right? Very real. So the same survey I was talking about told us that a lot of women chose to opt out of the entrepreneurial race. Businesses got shut down. And at the same time, therefore, we came up with the grants program that we ran towards the last half of the year, which is where we extended grants of nearly $4.3 million across 5 different cities to SMBs that were 3,000 plus. So I think this journey has been very tough and learning both at the same time. But again, I think the reality is that the digital transformation is here to stay, right? And I'll wrap with like this very interesting study that I was reading from YouGov, which said that 80% of millennial purchase decisions during, say, festive periods happen either on Facebook or Instagram. And so we have young businesses like Karagiri, run by another very promising lady, Pallavi, who actually launched a Diwali collection on Instagram, not on the physical store. So I think the journey has been very real. People have realized कि घर बैठ के भी business हो सकता है, business करना आना चाहिए बस. So I don't think the bridge in any way took away in the current scenario, but it was a very tough learning for SMBs. It's very tough when you're trying to pay wages, raise working capital, and also learn at the same time.
Exactly. In fact, one of the things that Icon does a lot during these events is to kind of actually reach out to a number of small and medium businesses, small businesses, startups who are trying to look at actually kind of getting into the game and thereafter kind of guiding them in some manner or the other. You were speaking about women. You were, in fact, there was a campaign that you spearheaded. I think She Means Business, which is like SMB. And then I was kind of just seeing the words that are there. And yeah. And so what I'm asking is, a number of these startups, as they start getting onboarded onto the Facebook kind of cluster of apps, is there some kind of a hand-holding that happens? Is it self-discovery? Is there something that they can do which kind of really guides them into properly kind of getting aligned with what all is possible with Facebook? Or is it like is it like the social kind of media world where you kind of explore, you figure out, and then you kind of further explore? Or is there some sort of hand-holding? There is some sort of a kind of a guide map or a roadmap that helps them?
So there is both available, right? There is self-learning that is available on facebook.com/business, which is come learn how to do business. But there's an immense amount of handholding. So for example, as I said, the Boost program is आप आए, आपने page बनाया, page बनाने के बाद पहला order कैसे आए? That's what the Facebook Boost program helps you with. The second bit is now you're ramping, and so there are a host of programs that we run where young businesses learn by vertical on how should they be looking at business. And that's really based on things like ROAS, which is return on advertising spend. How do you get most value for your business? So that's again hand-holding that we do. We do hand-holding via VCs, which is the VC Brand Incubator program. We also do a large amount of hand-holding that we do around creative, which is either the campaign lab that we run, also a lot of work around Instagram. So across each one of these pieces, depending on what's your vertical and what's your challenge, there are programs available where you get virtual help. You also get physical help, but the world is no longer physical, unfortunately. So we've seen like a significant spurt in some of the custom webinars that we do for all of our customers who have just started their journey. So I think handholding all the way. There's no like bullet to bite कि ये खा लो तो भाई कल से तो business चल पड़ेगा. सीखना तो पड़ेगा, बहुत जरूरी है. But we do see that happening across the board. And yes, we continue to invest in other things. For example, we just launched the SMB toolkit in Hindi, which is you're offline. You want to go online. What are the 3 things or 5 things that you need to do? And it's like literally a step-by-step way in Hindi to make that happen. And it reaches close to 9 million SMBs in the country. So I think all of those pieces have come into play, and extremely proud to see some of the journeys that I just spoke of, right? Like, I will go back to the Vastram journey. It's very interesting. She is a homemaker who decided, and Vastram is a silk store, who decided to go online, and is really the first person I've met in a long time who actually had an online store and then funded her way to create an offline store. So I think the journey is very, very interesting.
In fact, you have been talking about scaling up. So scaling up is an amazing feature of using Facebook, social media, because it helps you scale up. It helps you kind of really get a good return on investment. So in that sense, but when you talk about this handholding, do you also sense a challenge for Facebook itself in terms of the volume of businesses that would be there in the SMB ecosystem in India? It would be Am I audible? That in terms of the number of businesses that are there in India, it's literally in the millions. So is Facebook also, I mean, do you have the bandwidth to actually be able to handle all of these businesses in terms of really being able to guide them? Because I was thinking that it would also entail certain
Okay, fantastic. Let me answer that question, Jyoti, for you. So I think we service nearly 200 million businesses across the globe. So volume is clearly not a challenge, I think, for the Facebook family of apps. And as I said, nearly 15 million businesses, at any given point of time in a month access our WhatsApp business app. So I don't think volume is a challenge in any capacity. I think a couple of things that are important is while we will always support both volume and we will go and handhold, I think what's also important to know is there will also always be custom support that will be available. Like you spoke of She Means Business, right? So She Means Business launched 5 years ago in India, is very focused on rural entrepreneurs. So, for example, with CSC, we have enabled close to about 2.5 lakh entrepreneurs across, I think, about 25,000 villages and nearly 12 states. So I think for every cohort, the treatment will be different, but the volume is welcome, right? Internet to sabka hai na. तो जितने लोग आए उतना बढ़िया, जितना सीखे उतना बढ़िया. And the more they get to do their business and get their customers, the happier we are to enable them in this journey. Because Facebook is a free platform, right? You create a page free, you upload your picture free, you have your conversation with your customer free, right? So I think it's very liberating to see these customers find more customers on the internet.
How do you find the Facebook funnel itself in terms of, one is to kind of get onto the platform, become visible, become discoverable, and then be able to kind of engage. So there is discoverability, there is engagement. What all does the platform also entail or enable that would kind of further extend the reach of a small and medium business to actually connect with customers? What else is possible with the Facebook suite of apps?
So I think a couple of things, right? So let's start from the top. Reach, definitely. So reaching out to the largest audience you can reach out to. The second is everything across the funnel. So for example, if we look at the funnel and we say it's awareness, which is people get to know about your brand, coupled with discovery. The second is people start to consider your brand. क्या मैं ये check shirt जो ज्योति ने आज पहनी है खरीदूं कि नहीं खरीदूं, right? That's the second part, which is really that aspect. And the final aspect is really conversion, which is, do I make a sale? And are there products that enable me to do that? Yes, there are catalog products. We have a product called Dynamic Ads, which is completely customized for you to put up your products. And then it will, in a carousel flow, show you the product. So this res in a carousel flow with a pricing. You click on it, you go make a transaction on the website of the individual that has posted that particular ad. So I think the full journey. Most importantly, I think what's very important is what the platform gives you is ROAS, and it doesn't tell you कि आज तुम्हें 2 लाख रुपए खर्चने, तुम 100 रुपए खर्चो. Get the returns on the 100 rupees. Learn, pick an objective that matters, and then go back in and spend your next 100 rupees because we truly know how valuable that 100 rupees is. So the platform is the same for the largest advertiser in the country to the smallest advertiser in the country, giving you very simple tools to measure your success. Did I meet my objective? I wanted to, reach out to individuals in the age group of 40 to 45, gender woman, behavior working, based out of Chandigarh. If that's the level of detailing you can go into, then you will definitely get ROAS. But you have to learn on the way. It can't be कि machine learning है आज लगा दिए कल आ जाने चाहिए. Otherwise, I'm not waiting. Because it's machine learning, you have to give it a couple of weeks. But you spend as much as you believe you should be spending. चद्दर के हिसाब से खर्चिए और ROAS आए तो बढ़ाइए, नहीं तो मत बढ़ाइए. That's the model, and that's the mental model on which our entire platform operates, right? It doesn't say display, it doesn't say, hey, you have to do, you have to spend. It's learn along the way and make the platform work for you. And we work very hard to make sure that we are solving for your ROAS because that's really on top of our minds.
In fact, Facebook has also started working with a number of VC funds to figure out what is a kind of scaling up that can be enabled along with the VC fund. So there is a certain amount of filtration and selection that happens via the VC fund. And thereafter, Facebook kind of ties up and kind of helps with the scaling up and taking the business to the next level. How does this work really? Is it via the VC fund? Is it via somebody approaching you and you connect with the VC fund? What is the kind of circle here that kind of, how do you close the circle here?
So with VCs as part of our VC brand incubator program. We launched it about 8 quarters back. It's a significantly successful program where we work with any VC of any size. So for example, I launched the program with a really small VC called Sauce.vc. Probably people wouldn't have even heard of it. But what we really did was bring your portfolio of brands. Let us understand from you what are the challenges that they face. And basis the challenges that they face, let us help them using the Facebook family of tools in order to make sure that we drive value for them. So if you are say an e-commerce business and your idea is to say, I need more people to consider my product and add to shopping cart, then there is a solution we help with there. Or you could be completely different and you could be an edtech player and you could say, no, I only want leads because I want people to come in and take this coding class, right? In the last 18 months, look at White Hat Junior, right? It's grown to be a 300 million, valuation brand. And we've seen the journey on the Facebook family of apps, right? So I think there is a custom approach for everybody. So if you come via VC, there is an approach where we try and help you depending on the ROAS you're seeking. If you come directly, there is a boost program that helps you do that. If you believe that's not the channel and you need only creative help, then go to the Business Hub or join our Campaign Lab program. So there isn't like a one size fits all. There is a solution for everybody. Identify your solution and then take that journey with us where we can tell you how do you make sure the platform works really hard for you.
Over the last 10 years, one has constantly been seeing Facebook kind of rolling out new features, new kind of mechanisms, new kind of protocols, new kind of systems to allow more and more people to engage more and more effectively with the platform. So having seen what has happened over the last year, is there a sneak peek that you can kind of give us into what is likely to happen in terms of Facebook introducing more new features, something else happening to actually help small and medium businesses, and also do a little bit of kind of future gazing and kind of look into the future and say what is possible in the digital domain with SMBs?
So I think a host of things are possible, right? And we don't even need to future gaze. In the current environment, and you'll see the ramp to the future, there is a clear indication that purchase behaviors, whether it is in the mobile space or apparel space or any consumer space, are moving digital, which means people are choosing to make their transaction digitally, and they're also willing to spend more as part of their digital transaction than they were previously spending. That gives me a very clear idea that total GMV is certainly going to go up. The second bit is, do we believe that the platform is solving for SMBs? Yes, we do, but we couple it with programs, and that's exactly what we are going to do both in the short and in the long term. Which is make sure that we help customers understand what the platform can do for you. Because a lot of times in a country where we have someone pressing the lift to go up to the third floor, we often don't learn how to press the button ourselves and go to the third floor. So I think there is a lot of learning that we are going to be constantly focused on. Because as an entrepreneur, that's going to be the key to anything that we do in India today or in as many years globally. So I think SMBs are going to be the focus today and always. So that's where most of the products are going to kind of make sure we enable. Is there going to be a custom build for SMB? No, because we don't believe that the SMB need is any different from any other business. Chahiye to wahi cheez hai, right? Zyada customer, zyada reach, zyada log, zyada sales. That's the problem statement, right? And the platform solves for it. वो platform कैसे use होता है? That is the key area, and therefore there we will continue to invest like we have in order to make sure that by cohort, whoever needs the help, agnostic to the challenge and the channel, we provide the help that's needed. So that's the vision. It is not a sneak peek, but it's a vision today, and it will always be a vision.
In fact, a number of questions I would have loved to ask, but lost a couple of minutes in the connection loss that we had. And I think we have the last 1 minute remaining because you have a busy schedule ahead of you. But a quick question that I would like to ask you is there a sense of frustration because you're leading a digital platform, you are kind of actually equalizing and leveling the playing field for a number of kind of sections of society, like you were speaking about women, and also tier 2 and tier 3 cities where suddenly the reach has become available. They can kind of use digital tools and kind of access larger audiences. But along with it is the physical infrastructure. After accessing, there is a physical product sometimes that needs to be delivered. Things need to happen. So those are things that perhaps you cannot address directly. Is there some mechanism that you're working on or at to figure out how do you kind of also make that a smoother transaction? Or is it the digital outreach, something that you do? And as you said, you can't go on kind of having somebody else press the lift buttons. You have to figure it out yourself. How does it work? Do you sense a certain sense of frustration, the difference between digital and reality?
No, I think zero sense of frustration, if at all a sense of elation, right? I started my journey on digital 21 years ago, and my grandmom used to talk about kya karti hai. She used to say computer karti hai. And that was the standard answer. Hamari beti computer karti hai. To a world now where, the whole world is moving digital, and that's really the crux of it, I think there is a sense of elation. I know like 20, 21 years ago, there used to be a handful of clients, 80 clients who would advertise on the internet, right? It was that small a universe to millions of businesses now being online, 200 million on the platform. That's more than the population of many countries. And so therefore, there's a sense of elation. There is no sense of frustration at all. I think what's important and what we will continue to solve for is wherever there is a need for tools, we will jump in to provide the solutions that are needed at a platform level. And we will continue to do that. Does that mean that I get less of what I want? No, it doesn't. Like, for heaven's sake, there are small businesses on one end that sit in really the small parts of the country. For example, as I said, my Bagicha, Ahmedabad, it's a father to son duo who are on Instagram and doing 3x sales. They didn't need a physical setup. There's a gamla that's landing in your house. You want a Raat Ki Rani, it will get delivered to you. So the challenge is not in the delivery of it. The challenge is in, do I know, am I ready? Do I learn? Do I make the sale? And that's where our focus is going to be, so that there are many more My Bagichas, many more from Silks, or even larger businesses. Like, look at a business like Licious. Right? They used WhatsApp with a notify me feature during the lockdown, which basically meant meat is going out, it isn't available, when it is available, notify me, and the delivery will happen. So I think all of those pieces, I feel, are less of the problem. I think more of the problem is just making sure that there is business skilling available at scale, there is handholding available at scale, there is acknowledgement that sometimes women may need a different type of handholding depending on where they're located. We know globally women have 14% lesser access to mobile phones. तो मोबाइल फोन नहीं है तो फोटो कहाँ से खींचूंगी प्रोडक्ट, और फोटो नहीं है तो इंटरनेट पे जाके डालूंगी कैसे? So those are the real world problems. Working capital is a real world problem, which is why the grant. So I think that's where our focus is going to be, on wherever we can unblock, we will step in and unblock. And whatever it takes in terms of product for us to build that or help with that or enable that is going to be our focus area.
We're out of time, number of questions that needed to be asked and can be asked another time. But all stakeholders of TACO, people like you are at the leading edge of the wave. Exciting times, because you can see that there's an ocean ahead of you. And of course, we look forward to having you again sometime, join us, TACON or some other platform. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation, and kind of apologies for the glitches that we had at the beginning. Thank you so much.
No, it's good fun doing the look at you. So next time, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Thank you both the speakers for this wonderful session. Loved every part of the conversation. So all those who are tuned in, I would like to say that you can go for the final session today, where we have Atul Khosla sir and none other than Mohit Chauhan. So good evening, sir, and thank you for this wonderful session.
Thank you so much.